The scene is set within the Black Orchid, within the boardroom of the upper floors of the Prince's Elysium. John Stanhope sits ahead of a table. He has issued a call via the secure network to the Primogen of the clans, inviting them at their earliest convenience to come meet with him at the Elysium to discuss rewards for their loyal service to the Camarilla. He sits there in his normal business attire, fingers steepled, with a large map beautifully rendered of New Serum, with many pieces placed upon it, small annotations and notes made with pen. His two ghouls sit beside him, advising him on the latest reports from the Harpy network of which domains go where and who currently owns what, as far as he is aware. One of the doormen knocks on the door, peeks his head round, and says that some of the prince's guests have arrived. He smiles wickedly and waves a hand to allow them in, and takes position at the table.
The Nosferatu Primogen walks in. She's wearing her mask, which makes her look like a very ugly mortal, but you recognize her. And she takes her place at the table, bows to the prince, and waits for the meeting to commence.
A few seconds after Virginia, Jacob also enters. He pauses just long enough to look around the room, taking in the individuals present. He too gives Prince Stanhope his customary nod of acknowledgement and takes to a seat. He actually sits directly across from Virginia.
The prince will notice the brief exchange and the interesting dynamic in which they've placed themselves. He won't say anything, but will log it for future reference. He finds it amusing that these are the two clans that come first when promises of reward are mentioned. But he smiles his usual charming smile when he wishes to show it. Welcome, my friends. I am glad you've been able to make it in such quick order. With the chaos happening on in the city and the imminent troubles that perhaps might reach us in the future, I thought it would probably be prudent to start mapping out the city to allow the clans to grow and to parcel out rewards to the loyal kindred of this city, allowing us to not only police, but also to, well, expand our respective influences. I'm currently looking at the map. I remember an old way in which the city was split up. It was clan lines on certain districts. I would like your input on this, and if there's any particular areas in which you believe your clan can not only hold, but maintain, perhaps even improve over time.
Virginia, she steeples her broken-like fingers and says, we are more interested in city systems than the actual portions of the city. Sewage, electricity, gas. So any city systems, any place where the city has power stations, the Nosferatu will gladly take off your hands.
Well, duly noted, Miss Virginia. Of course, I'm trying not to focus heavily on the infrastructure, but also the areas in which people can come into and out of our city. Because having domain in these areas also means you have to protect it. And we don't want outside influences to sneak in, which is why I am making sure that the most trusted, the Primogen, of course, are given responsibility in these areas. If you're talking that, then you'll probably be more interested in any points to the top of the map. The sort of northern part of New Serum, by the Barrens, where the power plant and the chemical works are, a rather profitable area, if I do say so myself. Could definitely expand. There's no reason why you can't push the city limits.
Well, I feel with my skills and the skills of my fellow clan members, we can affect repairs, maintenance, make sure that this part of the city is defended, because it is a target.
Yes, yes, indeed. And we will need capable kindred to be able to defend it. You are correct. How about you, Mr. Crowley? Do you have any suggestions on this? I know you have quite a capable mind.
I see that Primogen Virginia is well versed in the area. She is capable of holding with her clan. I think that any area she feels that she can support, especially if it holds a strategic value, by all means. As for my own clan, we have a reinforced status among the people, even more so now than before. Those of us, Calliope's art, you're already well acquainted with. Most are. My own herd worms its way in and out of the scholastic masses at the university, and we also have good Sir Mortimer. He is an author, and Joshua Smith is a storyteller, he tells me, with these sorts of talents. And should the other lady ever choose to bring herself back from her haven and join the rest of us, we would have quite a potent standing, I think, in areas such as either the waterfront or the boardwalk, where we could maintain a strong connection with the people and be eyes and ears of if any is trying to infiltrate into our society.
I see. As you mentioned, the waterfront and your own particular artistic endeavours is something that you have been working on as a clan. But on a city-wide scale, where do you think you would be best suited to help defend the city or expand upon areas mostly not touched so far by kindred?
Oh, if I do recall correctly, and please feel free to correct me on this, but in that area, I know that most of the businesses in the northeastern section are well in hold. But what about east of downtown? Those areas, the warehouse district, the boardwalk, has anyone actually bothered to secure any of that?
Well, the airport is obviously Ventry domain. The cheap bars and hotels has always been an anarch haunt. The shopping and boardwalk, however, no. And that would be able to allow you access to expand perhaps into the minorities section, the Russia and Little Russia and Little Portugal, or maybe the main warehouse district. It will also be able to make sure that anyone coming via, well, shipping and seas, those who want to smuggle in, not at the docks perhaps. Yes, I can see this. What would be your plans for the districts, Mr. Crowley?
For a beginning, once I've had a decent scope of what the businesses are present there, well, either take over or position our own businesses, whichever is more efficient. Between those that we have in the clan currently, both can easily be managed. But once we have a foothold there, a position from which we can expand, we will move into the kind, take our eyes and ears and expand them through herd, if necessary, a ghoul or two here and there. The sort of thing that can ensure that if any strange happenings take place, especially in those minorities you mentioned, it works its way to our ears before it ends up on the tabloids.
Yes, the masquerade must be maintained under all manners. The ghoul comes in and knocks politely on the door. The prince pauses conversation. Another gentleman has arrived. Please show him up.
Alright, so Haikal would enter at this point, lowering his head to the prince in apology that he's late. And he slinks into his spot where he's expected to be.
Well, at the moment you've got the prince at the head of the table and Virginia, Lucas and Crowley at opposite ends of the table facing each other. So where are you going to sit down?
I will keep eye contact with Mr. Crowley and smiling at him and giving a polite nod, but I'll sit beside Virginia.
Ah, Mr. Haikal, excellent. You can see on the table of the Ventru boardroom is a large, beautifully written map of New Serum. It's got small pieces on it that denote various locales of influence for various clans, and little pencil notes as well, scribbled all over it. At the moment, Mr. Haikal, we are discussing areas in the city in which the clans will claim domain, so therefore they can expand their particular interests and help defend the city. Miss Lucas has kindly opted the northern end of town, he points, around the chemical works and the power plant and the barons, to be able to not only shore up the amenities for the kind, but also to make sure that no one enters our borders from this direction. Mr. Crowley believes that his clan is better suited for the shopping and boardwalks and the warehouse district to the east, being able to influence the kind and being able to be a center point for information and rumor, as well as being able to calm down some of the more wild elements of the minorities within our city.
I'll study the maps as I hurriedly try to find the map on the page. I'll be eyeing the historical district and running a finger towards it and kind of oddly glancing at all your faces to see if there's any kind of shakes of no that's been claimed. And then I'll kind of tap around the colleges and do an offhand mention that we have domain in the estates district here. But I don't want to step on anyone's toes if these places have already been claimed. I know Clan Malkavian is quite small and getting pieced back together, despite our great accomplishments.
Well, the estates district is certainly something that perhaps can be done, but as you say, your clan is quite small. Perhaps the middle class district connecting it? And then once your clan is in a stronger state, it can expand into the estates. Obviously, I have claimed Nobility Hill as my own, but there's no reason why we cannot be amicable neighbours. And it does mean that you would be responsible for maintaining the protection of anyone coming up or down river via the lake.
I eye the area and the places around it. Of course, I don't have any opposition to that. The middle class district, you say, with a chance to expand. I'll smile and nod. It's very reasonable. I'll squint a little though, wondering if the prince might want me to grasp for more. But then I'll just lower my head and say, if that's what the prince wishes, we'll do the best we can to make sure that area of the city is safe and free of troubles.
I can understand your hesitation, Mr. Highcall, but let us be clear, this is a very large city, and there's plenty of districts for each of us. We all have very different approaches to what we want to achieve within the city, apart from the one unifying factor, which is safety. So I don't want any false modesty. If you don't believe you can hold a district, then don't claim it. But if you wish or believe that you have the strength to, or have the desire to expand, then please speak freely.
I am well aware that having a domain and influence in a district might be different, but I glance at the historical district at where the college is located, as well as the estates district, and say, though, if I were to expand influence in these other districts, in these other locations, it won't be I just don't want it to seem like an act of aggression or anything untowards.
No. Influence and businesses can go via domain lines. The kind go everywhere after all. Domain is simply an area to feed and to protect. You're interested in the historical district. There's lots of colleges there. I am wanting to use the tithe to expand the education system in the city, perhaps open a university. I do believe that re-educating, or the less fortunate amongst our populace, is a good way for us to expand the work power of the city, perhaps better ourselves, and get more kind interested in living here.
Of course, it draws the youth, especially if a university is opened.
I don't suppose you have any influence in education at this point, Mr. Highcall.
I smile towards you. I'm, how to put this, I started with a stance like this in the city, and I'm kind of moving my elbows outward. So I've placed a fishing lure into the college, the historical department, as well as the museum. I'll scratch the back of my head.
Alright, excellent. Well, I'll tell you this. If you focus your clan on the middle class district to begin with, if you make any headway with the education or district and the historic, we will speak again. I am also quite interested in education myself, and I'm sure a deal can be made.
Oh, most certainly. I'll keep you well informed of my happenings there. Last thing I want is to unintentionally fall within the sphere of influence of another kindred and cause animosity. So, my prince, if you're even aware of any other kindred dabbling in the colleges, then I would like to be made aware.
The only kindred that I've assigned the task of getting through to the educational side of the system is Mr. Red of the Tremere and a Toreador, the newest Toreador. I cannot recall his name, but that is due to the influence competition I'm running for the neonates. If you can map out a good locale, or basically the landscape of the educational district, I will happily fund the opening of a new university, and we can speak about perhaps joint domain. But I think we've come to very good conclusions here. So, Mr. Crowley, I've I should, I suppose, do all the official bits. I, John Stanhope, Prince of the City, yada yada yada, titles. Hereby award the Toreador the Northern Warehouse District, the Shopping and the Boardwalk District. And you might as well have the cheap bars and hotels as well, just to connect it all up.
Jacob will smile, nod. I thank you greatly, my prince. I will see to it that we have something when the works before the month is done.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing about success. And I'm sure that your clan is one that's going to be, well, we're no strangers to success. Miss Lucas, I, John Stanhope, titles, hereby give Clan Nosferatu the domain of the Northern Barons, the power plant, and the chemical works.
Virginia licks her lips. Ah, such. I enjoy people piecing off the cow, but I shall stick with the heart. The Nosferatu influence grows. This can only be good for the city.
Exactly, Miss Lucas. Nosferatu have been nothing but staunch supporters of the Camarilla and staunch supporters of stability. And Haikal, I, John Stanhope, Prince of the City, titles, give Clan Malkavian domain of the middle class district to the west of the city, and the northern part of the Estates district, which I believe the von Hunsbrook Manor is part of, so it'll connect that up nicely. It also gives you access towards the two sides of the river for you to protect.
Excellent, my prince. Thank you kindly for the trust. We will not fail.
Clan Malkavian have had many difficulties and many hardships over the past few years, but it is only now that they have truly shown their loyalty and their endurance in times of hardship. I expect nothing but great things from your clan. So, gentlemen, is there anything else you'd like to discuss? Is there any areas of the city you think are particularly vulnerable that should be held by other clans? I would love your input.
I squint an eye looking at the map. The docks are always an issue, from what I know, and I'm quite unsure as to who claims them. I spend a lot of time over at the beach and the docks, so of course I've never fed there.
Well, the docks historically have always been a split domain between Venture and Bruja. However, Bruja have recounted their right of domain within it, and so therefore the Venture have made a deal, apparently, with the anarchist. I've forgotten. The bear. I forget his name. Vasily, of course. Vasily to help them maintain influence within it. But this will have to be reviewed. As you say, the docks are a very difficult place to police. Perhaps maybe two clans will hold it, one north and one south.
A fine idea, my prince.
I'm a little worried about the southern part of the city, the agricultural to the east and the middle class district. They are large areas, but they have not historically ever been claimed by kindred. We have usually kept this side of the river. Is there a numerous clan that you think will be able to fill out such a wide space?
Agriculture. Huh.
If I may, Jacob will lean forwards a bit, looking over the territory. While it is far from their primary domain. If the Gangrel have been keeping up the same numbers that they had of old, they could potentially see benefit in having the southern outskirts as well as the western.
The numbers are quite low is the only thing at this particular point. And with our dear sheriff's responsibilities and his own clanmates handling, I've only seen one in recent memory. I know Darkstone isn't under one hole or another. I think it might be difficult. I was thinking perhaps of giving them at least cursory domain in the project, since he was so keen to be able to police it himself.
I don't recall them ever expanding much, but what of the Tremere? It's a rather large domain, and I wouldn't suggest giving it to them alone, but perhaps they could hold a portion of it. Side closest to their chantry?
Yes. The whole domain would be far too much, I do agree, Mr. Crowley, but perhaps the outskirts, the southern part, just to protect the borders. They are quite industrious and quite powerful. Yes, maybe the Tremere. Very good suggestion. Well, it'll all depend on what they say, of course, and what they believe their strength, where their strength lies. Perhaps we should. So we have the north, east, and south. Business district, I suspect the Ventrue will appear. Agricultural, perhaps we can allow the Gangrel to have the barons on the farther east side. This is small enough for them to patrol, and quite next to their the outskirts of the city in which they claim, and the Tremere the very south. Is there a clan that I'm missing? No, I don't believe so. Well then. Excellent. I think we are getting very far for some wonderful plans for the future, and plenty of work to keep us all busy. Is there anything I can do for you gentlemen while we are here?
And lady.
I beg your pardon, Miss Lucas?
Gentleman and lady.
Of course. My
She says,
apologies.
"No, your prince, you have been so trusting in us, and we appreciate all that you have done."
There are two Malkavians that have not presented themselves as of yet, my prince. They've shown themselves to me, though their knightly habits have made it impossible for them to speak with you as of yet. On their behalf, I will extend their desire to meet with you eventually. Concerning one of them, I will have to speak with you in private, and I'll glance at the two other Primogen. But the other is an anarch from LA. I told him that he should present himself to you, as the anarchs are part of the Camarilla.
Exactly, courtesy. What did you make of the man? Is he going to be another troublemaker, or will he simply want to go his own way?
I believe he goes his own way, though I have heard of the other anarchs make mention of him, so they know of his presence in the city. So no doubt he has made contact with them, as is general anarch custom. When I talked to him, he said that he doesn't intend to make residence in the city permanent, though for a few months at least. he will remain here. I told him that downtown is a permissible area of the city in which he may feed, as you mentioned in a previous Elysium.
Yes, yes. At the moment, the only non-place in which to feed is the red light district in any tourist trap, any public area like museums or libraries. It's too much hassle to allow Kindred to feed there, and if something goes wrong, it's far too painful to clear up. But downtown is currently the rack, as it were.
So within the next couple of weeks, I hope that they present themselves to you. I will accompany them if need be, but I guarantee you, my prince, that they offer no troubles to you or
Well,
to any other Camarilla member of the city.
have they been screened properly, Mr. Highcal? We have had some infiltrators in here before.
For one, the one from LA, I can vouch for him. Though I have never met him in LA personally, he knows the right names of people from there. Though the other, he is more recently embraced, and I kind of make a pained look, a little akin to George Walker, perhaps, though not as loose with his mouth, and not an anarch.
Well, make sure their names are given to my office, and I'll send a copy to them to the sheriff, so they're not, well, detained for any reason. But do make sure they do come and see me when they have a moment. Apologies that I have not been able to see them so far. Time is very precious, it seems, these times.
I understand, my prince. You're a very busy man.
Is there any other business, Mr. Crowley, perhaps? Is there anything you wish to discuss?
Only a small matter, since we are speaking of anarchs. Mr. Javier.
Oh,
the one
God, what has he done this time?
Oh, well, thankfully he's done nothing that I've been made aware of. His worst crime was accidentally selling his firearms to Apollo before. And I don't believe he was personally involved in any of the ruckus that took place at his band's events in the past. I really wanted to inform you that, well, you may have already known, but due to some leak of information somewhere, that after the Anarchs heard, rather quickly, about the fallout of the treaty, they've taken to moving as a pack, as it were. If you still wish for him to be brought in to face justice, it's going to be a matter I may need the sheriff or one of his hounds' assistance on, as finding him alone has been almost impossible.
Thank you for your diligence, Mr. Crowley. Mr. Rojas and his pack did come and see me personally. He mentioned he has given all information regarding Apollo. It was scant few. Anything of interest at all? And although, ideally, the crime of selling guns to the Sabbat would be enough to put him out to the sun, but with the political climate at the moment, I thought it would be prudent to let him dig his own grave. He's so very good at it. Keep an eye on him, Mr. Crowley. I'm sure no one will miss him if he disappears, but there will be no official action taken against Mr. Rojas at this point.
If that is what the prince has decided. I'm only glad that they took the advice I gave them instead of ignoring it out of spite, and actually did come to see you personally.
The only thing we can do now, gentlemen, is prepare for the worst. It seems the city is always one day or 1 week away from one disaster or another. I'd quite like to be able to counter the stone's thrown at us for a change.
We must all have level minds and a heart for peace and cooperation, of course. You can't have peace without cooperation.
We must cleanse ourselves internally of corrupting influences like the anarchs before we can fully set ourselves against external forces like the Spot. Especially if the anarchs are going to sell guns to them.
I know, Miss Lucas, I know. The very concept is deplorable. However, Mr. Haikal is correct. We cannot unite against a outside force, even an internal factor like the Anarchs, while we're all split apart and chasing our own tails. We need to spend this time to fortify ourselves and make the clan strong again. We are the Camarilla. We are a great tower of 7 pillars. Let us rebuild that great tower, so that all may look upon it in fear and awe.
I am in absolute agreement, my friends. Wise words.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I do look forward to seeing you soon. Ah, Mr. Haikal. I believe since the Nosferatu Elysium is now done with, I believe that the Malkavians should have a turn.
Most certainly, we will take up the challenge and make sure that the next Elysium is to your liking. Hopefully, and I'll smile over to Virginia, with less violence amongst its walls.
Good luck to you then, Haikal. You may have bitten off more than you can chew.
It does remind me, gentlemen, of a sort of more minor matter. Unfortunately, due to the chaos of the last Elysium, we didn't get round to the presentation of the tithes. I will expect a package from each of you within the next couple of weeks. And any suggestions on how you would like it spent. My own personal decision on the first month of tithe is to invest in building a new university. But I am very much willing to help expand any of your domains or any influences in which you feel need increasing in the city.
I shall have a list drawn up and presented to you for your approval, Prince.
I expect you will, Miss Lucas.
I'll have my others bring forward their ideas, and whatever I find appropriate, I will pass it along to you with the tithe, my prince.
Excellent.
And Clan Malkavian will pass along its tithe. Though any plans that I have for advancement and influence are a little long stretched, it might be a couple of months before I present you with any kind of written notice or anything of the sort, my prince.
These things take time, and we have all the time in the world, Mr. Haikal. Don't feel you have to rush them.
I'm too careful to rush it.
If only all of us can take that attitude sometimes, Mr. Haikal. Anyway, good evening, gentlemen. I hope you enjoy your new responsibilities.
Prince, and Virginia exits. I gotta go.
Haikal then also, with a nod of his head, being quite respectful, exits as well. Just before he exits, he checks his phone. It's quite noticeable that he's almost always on his phone when he's about to leave. It's like a weird quirk of his, but he does separate himself from the scene.
And Jacob, being last to rise, will also give a deeper bow to the prince before he turns and makes his way out, smiling.
The prince will then stand, look over the map of New Sarum, call for one of his ghouls for a certain instrument, a simple pen, and he begins shading a very beautiful crosshatch, actually, over the different areas in which he has assigned to the 3 Prymogen that has visited him. And like a chess master staring at a particularly difficult game, the scene will fade of him just staring at the city.